Alright, hello everyone. This is another live show, and I'm going to be going to the page to see. Alright, hello everyone. Okay. Don't want to have the feedback. Alright, anyway. Now, the subject today in this show will be the aspect of interpretation, justice, salvation. Because, and to recap where I was for those that may still be watching the first video or haven't yet figured out that haven't yet found out that I'm live, I'm going to recap a little bit on what got this started for me, and that was this stupid idea that when you quote the Bible exactly, that you're acting like a fundamentalist. This is false, because fundamentalists will twist the shit out of the Bible and make it that it's saying something, that they say it's saying something that's not there. Because they then try doing this, because they had said quoting the Bible is easy, understanding it is hard. No, it's not hard to understand this shit. This shit is really straightforward. And they tried using the aspect of novels and so forth, and fables and poems. Some fables and poems do need to be, to use the term, interpreted. But you're still going by the story. As far as poems, yeah, there is more of, to use the term, poetry and ways of saying things and inferring that the author's intent is not really clear. Just like songs can be taken in multiple ways. That could be another aspect of, to use the term, interpretation. But we can all agree with the aspect of a song that you're listening to a song. There are some things that should stand to reason. That you have to, there have to be basic things that we agree on as what the fuck reality is. Because this person tried saying that using this definition, and this is problematic because what they had said with this, it's the second definition I mean. Well, the problem with that is you're talking about somebody not really saying something, they're more their body language and what they mean by what their actions are showing, but not what, because they're not saying anything, type of thing. Then you have to interpret. But when it comes to, and I'm, for the sake of, oh, okay, almost forgot where I was for a sec. There are two ways to be fooled. This is a quote that I have in the banner that you might not have been able to read because of how small that is. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. And the other quote that I have up is from Nietzsche: there are no facts, only interpretations. And when it came to Nietzsche, there were some things that I found that were rather interesting, that what he was saying did fit the aspect of what this person was getting at, because let me move things around, because what they were talking about is they have to interpret everything that I'm saying, and no, you don't. You have to, like, with this, you're not interpreting what I'm saying, you're just listening to me, type of thing. Because if we don't have an agreement on basically what the fuck reality is, and what the hell is going on, then we can't have a conversation. Because if you're basically, if it comes down to, if a person is not going to, if they're going to try and act like they have to interpret everything that you're saying, then they're not really listening to you. They're trying to twist what you're saying to fit their agenda. And when it comes to this shit, I want to point out a big thing where Christianity, it's just wrong on its entire premise. Because the aspect of, the aspect of Christianity is rooted in the idea that they get from Isaiah 7:14. They love to quote this because they think it fits the virgin birth. Okay, sorry about the fan, everybody. I was just trying to cool down my office. But they try to act like this right here is saying that this is referring to Jesus. It's not. Not even close. Because they look at this word virgin and they try to go, see? A virgin would conceive. What they're not doing, or what they're actually showing, is they do not understand Hebrew. Because in Hebrew, that word of virgin is Alma. And let me just enlarge this so you guys can see it. Because it's not just a matter of telling you something. I want you to see this. The word Alma means a lass, a damsel, or maid. Now, King James, the Strong's is King James, and it does have virgin there, but it's not a sexual virgin. This is a young woman. Because there are two words in Hebrew that are translated as virgin. The one is Alma, which is a young woman. So it should not be translated as virgin. It should be translated as a young woman. And the other, that I'll pull up this, and the way to find it if you're using an e-sword, and you can make it, in a sense, easy because we're just doing Old Testament, is virgin. Now, the first occurrence I'll go to, and what you can do to make sure that you have, in a sense, the right one, is to be under the KJV plus. And yes, the first one in Genesis 24:16 is the right one. Because, and what is interesting that you will notice is this says, the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her. She went down to the well to fill her pitcher and came up. That word of virgin in there, you will clearly see it is a different word than the other one. That is because this is the sexual virgin. Basically the state of virginity. pretty much the unused root to separate a virgin. This is the sexual aspect of virgin. And it's just one of those, one thing that sometimes the King James will translate what is, see, because here's another one in Genesis 24:43 that the word virgin is also used, and it's, behold, I stand by the well of the water, and it come to pass that when the virgin come forth to draw water, and so forth. You would think it's the same one. It's not. It's not. This one is the young woman. So it has to be a different one from verse 16, because we're using a different Hebrew word. You can't basically flip-flop. And one thing to be, because I am curious how the yes, looking at this, and this is a good way to basically tell the difference, because Mark had said that the JPS is not the best, but in a sense, I guess it works for the purposes of this, and it does, because you see what it is here, that it is virgin in verse 43. But when I switch over to JPS, the word virgin is not there, it's maiden, because this is a young woman. Whereas if we jump back up to, I think it was 16. Yes, it was 16. And the word there in the JPS is virgin. So the JPS, which is the Jewish Bible, the Jewish English version of the Bible, has it as, in verse 16, that is the Bethulah, whereas down in verse 43, it is a maiden. Because you're talking, the one is a sexual virgin, the other is a young woman. Now, going back, with that established, that we have two different Hebrew words, and yes, I'm still in JPS, because when we come down to verse 14, you'll notice something interesting. This same thing that in what Christians read as, behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son. JPS, behold, the young woman shall conceive and bear a son. This is vastly different. You're talking a young woman giving birth. A young woman giving birth is not a miracle. A young woman giving birth is commonplace. It happens every day. It's not something that is miraculous. It doesn't require, to use the term, a god to make that happen, because we see that all the time. This isn't talking about some chick that's been knocked up by some holy Casper. That's not possible in Judaism. That's simply bogus. Pretty much Mark would point out that there's no such thing. So the entire foundation of Christianity on this virgin birth bullshit is based on a misunderstanding of two Hebrew words, which that rips the heart out of Christianity. Because you can't have the virgin birth thing and at the same time as you have this idea with people the idea of giving birth and being of a woman being impregnated by some holy Casper, and then in reality, in the Hebrew, it's a young woman giving birth. These things are worlds apart. And this is not a matter of interpretation. This is a matter of what does the word mean? What is actually being said? What's being expressed? And that is where what the fundamentalist Christians are doing is they're taking what is written in this Bible and to fit their agenda. It's not about what is legitimately there, or even a matter of interpretation. It's a matter of what is basically what's fitting their agenda, what's fitting their dogma. That's what they're interested in, not what could or couldn't be as far as things go. But I'm going to try and have this up at the same time as me so I don't have to be messing with the one and the other. The thing is, what we have with Christians, a lot of times they will, especially when it comes to salvation, they're addicted to this idea of salvation and so forth, because for them, you have to have it in order to have their nonsense make any sense. You can't have the idea of Christianity being somehow wrong. They can't abide that idea. Because without the idea of salvation, they have no incentive to believe this Jesus shit, even though there is no reason to believe the aspect of someone dying to pay for your sins. Because a core part of the message of Jesus, and I've mentioned this before, and I have to switch back to the King James, because with JPS, there is no Matthew. But this idea of Matthew 28 is also a core part of Christianity. That even the Son of Man has come not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Which is in stark contrast to, and this is not a matter of interpretation, this is a matter of what did the words on the page say. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give God a ransom for him. The idea of somebody dying and paying for the sins of another person, in Judaism, that is not acceptable. And that sentiment is expressed in multiple places, but another example, and Christians love quoting Ezekiel 18:20, because it starts off, this part fits their dogma. But that's all they want to tell you. That's all they want to show you. Is the soul that sinneth, it shall die. They don't like any of the rest. The thing is, it's not a matter of interpreting this. It's a matter of reading what is there. And what is there is made really clear. The Son shall not bear the iniquity of the Father, neither shall the Father bear the iniquity of the Son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Verse 21. But if the wicked will turn from all sins that he had committed, and keep my statutes and do what is lawful and right, he shall surely live, he shall not die. Where is the need for Jesus? Where is the need for anyone to die? Where is the need for salvation? I contend it just doesn't exist. And while I go back here to get my soda, thing is, the idea that you're going to have this person coming along and paying for what you do, it's not biblical. Not in the aspect of what is in the Old Testament. And like I had said in a previous video with that 10 questions that atheists can't answer, was when the guy said about if you had unequivocal proof that Christianity was true, would you become that the Bible God was true, would you become a Christian? My answer, no. Because that, okay, I don't know why, hopefully things aren't screwing up too much, because it looks like, from what I'm seeing on the web page itself, is everything is that the camera is goofed up and all of that, things are not looking too good. Okay, this 2-liter J, well, the aspect, to finish the thought I was on, of if the God of the Bible would be real, then Christianity is wrong, because it would be Judaism. If the God of the Bible is false, then Christianity and Judaism are wrong. You could even throw in Islam. So in that regard, the idea of Christianity, no matter how you slice it, Christianity is wrong. But to the aspect of 2-liter J high C, this is one that I think this is a troll that I've dealt with, but it doesn't bother me, the why are you an atheist and what makes you think of being an atheist. Why am I an atheist? Because I do not believe the claims made about a God. The claims made by Christians regarding a God, or even Jews, of a God existing, I do not see any evidence or any reason to believe that those claims are valid. So my disbelief in the God, my disbelief in the claims, is what makes me an atheist. Because an atheist is simply one that does not believe in God or the claims of a God. It's not saying that one doesn't exist. And I find it ironic, the aspect, I'm not a troll, brother. The thing is, would a troll come out and say, yes, I'm a troll? That really, it's comical. But the question itself that you had asked, it shows me you don't understand atheism, or what atheism is. Because atheism is simply the disbelief in gods. It's not saying that there isn't a God. It's just saying, I don't believe it. I have not seen sufficient evidence to cause me to believe the claim. So the claim is meaningless. No one comes into this world with the idea or belief in a God. We are all, to use the term, we're all born atheists. It is only when you have people that are indoctrinating somebody with these ideas that they begin to have them. The aspect of where do we go when we die, we go back to the dust and dirt and elements that we came from. That when a man and woman have sex, and the sperm combines with the egg, the DNA produces a biological child that the DNA dictates that it will be human and so forth, as we have evolved to be, with the aspect of like an adult like me, the ability to drink milk and so forth, as well as other traits that have come through evolution. But when we die, we go back to nothingness. We cease to exist. Because the only thing about us now is the fact that we have the brain that we do, and we are consciously aware of right now, but we have nothing. There is no evidence, there is nothing that points to some spiritual anything. There is no evidence of a spirit or a soul. Because if there would be such, then there would be something that it would do. There would be some way that you'd be able to differentiate, this is my physical body and the thoughts that I have in my brain versus what some spirit or soul would think. There is none of that. When a child is born, they do not have the knowledge of anything else. A higher consciousness is only possible in a functioning brain. You can't have a disembodied consciousness. There is no evidence to support that. There's no reason to believe that a higher consciousness would exist. Basically, to Leader J, what reason do you have to even propose a higher consciousness? I mean, let's not even try to define what a higher consciousness would be. What reason do you have to believe that a higher consciousness would exist? Because it's as meaningless to me as saying that there are invisible magical pink monkeys coming out of your ass right now. There's no evidence for that. There's no reason to conclude that. So why, if there is nothing, then why even consider it? If there's no, and that's the point of the atheist, is there's no reason to believe, there's no evidence supporting the idea, so why believe it? Because when police are investigating a crime, they go by what does the evidence show? Where does the evidence lead us? Not where can we lead the evidence. You have to go by where does the evidence that you have lead you. Because if you're trying to lead the evidence, then you're not really trying to get at an answer. You're trying to use your own agenda to push. You have your own agenda that you want to push. You're not going by what it would be that would lead you to that end. If a God would exist or a higher consciousness would exist, how would it make itself known? How would it, like right now, with us, the aspect, how could a higher consciousness reveal itself right now? Is there anything it could do? Especially if it can do anything it wants, if it's a God type of thing. is there anything? There would be anything. It could do anything. It's magical. Then it should be able to either appear or, hell, anything. Even to use the term, and I know it's part of the Christian ideas with like possession and so forth. But even if, to use the term, if there would be a higher consciousness, the aspect, could it take over me and completely do the rest of this live show as it's conveying information instead of me? That is bullshit. The aspect of Yahweh, that is, in the Canaanite pantheon, there was a Yahweh, but that was a minor deity. It wasn't the Jesus character. It was a completely different mythological character. Jesus was a fraud. Pure and simple. The virgin birth bullshit that Christians talk about, I've already covered. That is, they don't understand the Hebrew word Alma, and that is a young woman. 2-liter J high C, do you think a young woman giving birth is a miracle? The Illuminati is bullshit. The idea of the Illuminati running the world, that is a conspiracy theory with no basis in fact. The Illuminati, there was a group a couple hundred years ago that went by that term, but they are no longer around. It's not about, this conspiracy theory with the Illuminati, it's crap. There was Moloch, yes, that was part of the Canaanite pantheon, along with Baal, along with the leader of the head god, El, which is where the word gods in, and I'll pull it up quick, in this shit, the word God, let me just go to Genesis. Well, we can even, Genesis 1, the word God is Elohim. Elohim is gods, plural. Now, this does get into something else that Mark Powers had pointed out to me, is that in Hebrew, there is the aspect of plural and singular. There are times that there are, a word that is used is the plural sense, is in a plural, but it means singular. So that basically it comes down to flaws and so forth in the translation. That with Hebrew there's no, the aspect of singular and plural. Sometimes a word will appear and be translated in English as a plural, but it's meant in Hebrew as a singular. And that is just a matter of people misunderstanding. And yeah, where is God now? The aspect of Nimrod, that was in the Jewish, I'm not real familiar with Nimrod, honestly. Hey, free spirit. But the aspect of Nimrod, it's meaningless. The Lucifer, that came from King James. There is no Lucifer in the Bible. That didn't exist until King James. And I'll pull up this bullshit again, because that is Isaiah. Well, I can cheat. And this is the thing about the E-sword. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's Isaiah 14, but yeah, Isaiah 14:12. But if you know a certain word, or if you're looking for a certain word, you can look it up and it will tell you exactly where it is. Now you notice, this is in the King James Version. What about JPS? Look at that, no Lucifer. 2-liter J high C. See that? JPS, no Lucifer. Because it's not talking about the same mythical character that Christians try to make it out to be. This is talking about a human king, and a human king that died. It has nothing to do with the aspect of some fallen angel, because the only way an angel can fall is if they trip, because angels do not have free will, which would stand to reason because of the things that have been said, and with like Paul, that can the potter say to the clay, or can the clay say to the potter that why have you made me thus? That this God, the potter, has the God has the ability to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor, that make one to go to heaven, one to go to hell. So basically, what choice do you have? You're just a mindless puppet. No. Lucifer is a bullshit term. It was invented by King James. It's not in the it's not original. It's not in Hebrew. It doesn't exist. It was made up by King James. It does not exist. There is no Lucifer in the Jewish Bible. It's just not there. And I'll pull this up again so you can, I mean, there's no way around it. There is no Lucifer. O Day Star, it's not what you are trying to make it out, what Christians try to make it out to be. It's simply not there. It is very similar to how Christians try to make out that there are fallen angels in Genesis, and they're not. The aspect of the where, and this is another bit of irony, where Christians say that Jesus was the only Son of God. If he was the only Son of God, why do we have sons of God right there? It's not fallen angels, it's sons of God. And it does not say, like in verse 5, and the Lord saw the wickedness of man, that it was great on the earth, and that every imagination of his thought was only evil continually. Verse 6, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and so forth. And where did it say anywhere in there that he was upset at all with any fallen angels? Because he's upset that he had made man. That man was this wicked one, or his evil thoughts. There is no mention of fallen angels. Christians have made up that Nephilim are these fallen angels. But yet, if we look up that word, oh, where was it? Okay. Go back and I had found it. That there were giants, but then where the hell was that word Nephilim? Oh, okay, that was under JPS. That giants in here is what comes up in the JPS as Nephilium. That's what had me screwed up. And it's properly, basically, a bully or tyrant, a giant. One that doesn't say that that is an angel. That is basically a giant. Whatever a giant is, who the hell knows? It could also be along the lines of those unicorns. No. Well, Nephilium is translated in English as giant. And it does show, at least definition-wise, as being a bully or a tyrant, a giant. Now it says from (5307) in Hebrew, which okay. Let's just go down, because I'm not even sure. But the aspect, there are no fallen angels in that sense. Because these angels don't have free will. Which would raise questions in my mind as to what. Now, it comes from to fall and die, divide, perish. The thing is, it does not say that that would be anything, to use the term angelic or spiritual. There's nothing spirity about it. So in that regard, the ideas of Christianity, they simply don't work. They fall apart. Angels can't fall. They have no free will. That is what I have gotten from my interviews with Mark Powers. Yes. They do not have the ability to fall. They do not have... Mark had said the only way they can fall is if they trip. Because that is just... It's not about this idea of... Because what Christianity is also centered around is dualism. Is this dualistic idea of you have God versus Satan. What you would have, and I can use the aspect of two skulls, you can't have a monotheism and have God versus Satan, because you have two. This is two. There's two. You can't get away from that. There are two things here. And if you have one being versus another, you have a dualistic conflict. The aspect of yin and yang, right and wrong, left and right, black and white. That's what this is. This is not a mono. Mono would be one. This would be mono. Freemasons. There are Freemasons, but they do not... It's not like people have made it out to be. It's not some elaborate... No. Yes, there are people that are part of the Masonic Lodge. And yes, you can't be... Like, someone like me could not be a Mason. I was told this point blank when I was in the Army. Because there was one guy in my unit that was a Mason. He had the ring that they wear on his truck. He had a thing that showed the Masonic symbol. He was a Freemason. And he was a Christian too. The thing is, you can't be in Freemasonry and be an atheist. It's one of the things with that group. You just have to buy into this stupid notion of a God. But I personally see it as, what reason is there to believe that? Because the aspect of the interpretation, that everything is about interpretation, and because I get that from Christians constantly, and it's a way that they try to manipulate or twist a conversation to being about their stupid bullshit, is saying this, it's a matter of interpretation. No, it's not. It's either there or it isn't. It's either real or it isn't. There's either something to it or there isn't. It's not about you're able to make up any shit you want. That's not the case. That's not the way it goes. Because, simply put, if there's no evidence to believe a proposition, then the default position should be that the proposition is not true. That is just the way it is. Now, one of the things that you guys will notice that I do have in the description bar is the aspect, if you want to know more about Nietzsche and his philosophy and so forth, that is a link in the description bar. Because there are things, Nietzsche was the one that had said there are no facts, only interpretations. And that is something that there are no facts, only interpretations. That was said by Nietzsche. And I find it ironic that Christians try to adopt this, it's all a matter of interpretation bullshit, because Nietzsche was an atheist and nihilist. I'm not nihilistic. I don't believe the aspect of nihilism. The aspect of an antichrist, that's a bullshit term. There was no Christ. Simply put, it just doesn't exist. And I can pull this up quick to show you, because one of the criteria, and this is just one of them, but it's one Jesus did not fulfill, nobody has fulfilled, is Isaiah 2:4. And he shall judge between the nations, and shall decide for many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. There are still wars. 2-liter JC, 2-liter J. There are still wars. Simply put. So, the aspect of the Messiah was to end all war. Has not happened. Jesus was not the Messiah, the Christ. So, there is no Antichrist. But in the aspect of, to use the term of Antichrist in the aspect of Revelation, that was fulfilled. Most scholars agree that actually was fulfilled around like 1000 BC, if not before that, with Nero Caesar. That Nero Caesar would have been the Antichrist. No. The aspect of Barack Obama being the Antichrist, that is stupid. That is really stupid. Because I am mid-40s. I was here, the first president that I remember hearing that he is the Antichrist was Ronald Wilson Reagan. Each name, Ronald Wilson Reagan, all three names have 6 letters. And it was pretty much every president since Ronald Reagan, with maybe the exception of Bill Clinton, all of the presidents, maybe except Bill Clinton, have been called the Antichrist. The aspect of Obama being the Antichrist, if you're going by the pattern of this Antichrist bullshit, he would no longer be the Antichrist because he's no longer president. Now I guess you would have to say the Antichrist is Donald Trump, which that really brings in, and I'm going to do it just because I don't typically do this type of thing, but I should be able, because I had this picture and I just hadn't loaded it in. There you go. There's your Antichrist now if you go by the pattern. Idiot Trump. Thing is, I'm not a Trump fan, but I'm also, and there is another one that I have that I can pull in, because I found this and I was holding on to it because I thought it was amusing. And this was actually said by DeSoso, who is a Christian. Basically, he's on par with William Lane Craig. He had debates with Christopher Hitchens that if Donald Trump is a Nazi for not calling out Nazis, was Obama an Islamic terrorist for not calling out Islamic terrorists? Was Obama an Islamic terrorist for not calling out Islamic terrorists if Trump is a Nazi for not calling out Nazis? This is the type of shit that the left is engaging in. What they have is a double standard. They don't like Trump, I get that. I'm not particularly fond of the idiot myself. However, you can't have a double standard. If you're going to say that there are these things with Trump, then why didn't you do it with Obama? It just does not work. And Free Spirit, wouldn't Jesus be the Antichrist according to the description? Well, yes. According to the aspect of how that is defined, yes, he would. Because what he promoted was very much anti-peace. Because there's also, oh hell, I don't remember book, chapter, and verse off the top of my head, but Jesus had said, and it deals with peace, and I'll even switch it over to New Testament. What do you mean, no? Okay. Oh, duh. I was in JPS. That's why. Okay. The think not that I've come to send peace. There is... shit. And Matthew 10:34. All right, it's not going there on its own, so there it is. Again, it helps if I switch over to KJV. That's one, just so everybody knows, if you're using the eSword and you have things like the JPS and other tabs, and you're doing something, make sure you switch back over to KJV. Because if you're in the JPS, the Jewish, and you try doing anything in the New Testament, you're gonna run into problems. But Jesus had said, think not that I've come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. And the "for I've come to set at variance," father against daughter, mother against daughter. Basically, a man's foes shall be they of his own household type of shit. So yes, Jesus was definitely a figure of he was not a figure of peace. He was not a figure of love. This idea of Jesus as this great big hippie, that doesn't work. Yeah, that's exactly. That gives a whole new meaning to GOP. Grab our pussy. It just... But you notice how all of that really just went bye-bye after he became president. It was there for a little bit, but then gone. Person of... What in the world would make you think that Trump is a person of this Yahweh to save this country? Fucking seriously. So, because Trump was involved in the Trump University. So, 2-liter J high C is running a scam, being a con artist. Is that criteria for this Jesus? This Yahweh? Is that what it likes? Basically ripping people off. That's what we're going to have as the one to save this country. Really? I mean, that just... You got to be fucking kidding me. The idea of Trump being some kind of savior, that is ludicrous. Seriously ludicrous. And no, I don't watch videos on the Antichrist, Illuminati, or other wacky conspiracy theory bullshit. No. It's simply... I don't waste my time with conspiracy theory nonsense. It's... If there's not evidence to support the idea, I don't buy it. Just because you've been told something doesn't mean it's true. The aspect of Trump being anything, Trump's an idiot. The aspect, I mean, literally, there's no... And the Illuminati, that's a puff of smoke and a grassy knoll. Just like the Bohemian Grove stuff. That's a whole lot of nothing. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter what a black friend would believe regarding Trump or not. Just because somebody that is black thinks something, it no more means that it's true than somebody that's white saying something. The color of someone's skin does not make what they're saying true or false. It is the factual nature of what they're saying that would make it true, or the inaccuracy of their statements that would make it false. No. There is the aspect of the God of the Bible being some kind of child or being some kind of daddy to Jesus. It doesn't work. And Free Spirit is exactly right in that. The God is not a man or son of a man. Ah, crap. Wrong thing. Okay. This aspect of the father and this son type of shit. Isaiah 42, verse 8. I am the Lord, that is my name. My glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. This right here rips the legs off of Jesus. It rips the legs off of the idea that this God was going to have a child. There is also Isaiah 43:11. I, even I, am the Lord, and beside me there is no Savior. The God of the Old Testament is a self-centered, self-serving prick. There is no, to use the term, father-son dynamic. It doesn't work. That aspect of rappers and so forth, it means nothing to me. I don't care. Rappers flaunting different things doesn't... Just because they pull up symbols of different kinds, so what? It basically means that those symbols are part of our culture. That they have meaning, that we've given them meaning. It does not mean that they actually, other than cultural meaning that we've given them, it doesn't mean that they're valid at all. Satanism, in a lot of ways, most versions of Satanism are atheism. Well, most... They could be Satanists. Most Satanists are atheists. 2-liter J high C. Don't you realize that? Most Satanists are atheists. This idea of Satan is... Anton LaVey had said in an interview when he was asked, why did you call it Satanism when it has nothing to do with the devil? And he had said, and I quote, it was to keep out those that are part of the herd mentality. And I hate to say it, 2-liter J high C, that would be you. Those that are part of the mentality of the herd, that are following along, bah, bah. It's not a... They don't know. Satanists don't worship Satan. Most Satanists don't even believe a Satan exists. No more than they believe a God exists. I can tell Free Spirit's been watching my videos for a while. But yes, he that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are an abomination to the Lord. That is also... That goes right at the heart of the idea of salvation. But there's also, Jesus is an abomination, absolutely. Because one of the things I also want to point out is, it goes along those lines, is, wait a minute, where was I headed with that? The aspect of, I had mentioned it earlier. I don't know if Free Spirit was in here at the time. But Free Spirit, you know, Christians love their Ezekiel 18:20. A good thing to shove in their face is the next verse. Especially when they like saying about you're taking that out of context. Because in verse 21, it makes it quite clear that the wicked turn from all the sins that he had committed. Change your behavior. Basically, do what is lawful and right. And then, he shall surely live, he shall not die. No need for a Jesus. No need for anyone to die. No, you can't. It's immoral. 2-liter J high C, if you're not a Christian, why are you sucking Jesus' dick? Why are you all about Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh? Free Spirit, you've changed your name? Okay, I only remember you as Free Spirit. Okay, you've been that for about a year. Okay. The thing is, the aspect of Yahweh and all of that shit, 2-liter J high C, I don't believe that you're not a Christian. Because everything that you're spouting between the not understanding that Satanists, most of them are atheist. No. The aspect of the God of the Old Testament is El. This Yahweh, Jehovah, that's Jehovah Witness. No, there is no 2-liter J high C. Isaiah 43:11. There is no, to use the term, there is no Savior but the Jewish God. It's the God of Judaism, not Jesus. There is nothing going to save you. And let's look up the aspect of, well, that does come up, Jehovah and Jewish name of God, all that happy shit. But that's not Jesus. Jesus and this, I love this bullshit, self-existent. That is this idea that it exists all on its own. You can't get something from nothing, Christians. Remember that? You can't have something being a God that is eternal. You can't get something from nothing. This God, whatever it is, it would be something. So it would have to have come from somewhere, which means it had to have something created. It doesn't matter what 2-liter J high C, what you're saying, it all fits under the Christian bullshit. And it fits under the conspiracy theory bullshit. It's all false, 2-liter J high C. It's all bullshit. There is no true God. If you want to say there is a true God, then how about some evidence? And Catholicism? Catholicism is actually where Christianity started. That was the first. Catholicism predates Christianity because that comes from the Roman Catholic Church. It was the Roman Church that took over Catholics, that became Catholics. Yes, Paul started Rome, Catholic. The other versions of like Orthodox and so forth, they split off from Catholicism. But originally it was the Catholic Church. So it doesn't make sense. The aspect of Sunday worship, yes, that goes back to Mithraism. If I'm not mistaken, maybe Free Spirit can, if I'm mistaken on that, the aspect of the worship on Sunday is Mithraism. Because I know with like Mark Powers, I have him on my Skype, and a lot of times I'll think of calling him on a Saturday, and I stop myself because it's like, oh crap, I can't do that because Saturday is the Jewish Sabbath. And all of that. So the aspect of, if to say there is any true God, you have to prove there is a God. And so far as I've been able to come across, there's no evidence. Nobody has ever presented any evidence to me that a God exists. But the Jewish Sabbath is Saturday. But to say the Sabbath is Saturday, only in Judaism. In Christianity, it's Sunday. And that is, I think Islam is also Saturday, or it might be Friday, I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure with Islam. They may have, because they're also a moon religion like Judaism, but their Sabbath could be Friday. Not totally sure. But these ideas, it doesn't matter what day of the week someone picks. It's all, basically, it doesn't, I mean, literally, who cares? Whatever day of the week you decide is the day you're going to devote to magical woo-woo thinking, it's meaningless bullshit all around. So it doesn't matter. The aspect of a sun religion, yes, Christianity is a sun religion, but in some ways Egypt was also, because Ra was a sun god. And I also find it, oh, Islam is Friday? Okay. That's interesting. Islam's Friday, Jews are Saturday, Christians are Sunday, but there fucks the weekend. But the thing is, Egypt was, I think for its time, that would have been unusual to have a sun religion back during the time of Egypt with the pharaohs and so forth, because Ra was a sun god. And I find it funny how Christians love to say amen, but amen is Ra. Amen Ra, or Amen or Amen Ra. It is a reference or a praise to the Egyptian god Ra, which I get a chuckle out of it when Christians are, give me an amen. Really? Which god are you serving? But the big thing, to touch on justice, since I have that in this video as well, mentioned by name at least, you can't have justice when you have a belief system that says all you have to do is think X and you'll be saved. That you'll be washed away of whatever you did by virtue of you think something. Ra was the sun god. Horus was the god of knowledge, wisdom. No, wait a minute. I may be wrong about Horus. Thoth was the god of wisdom. Because I had come across what are called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And I found them interesting. But I don't buy into it. Oh, it is? Wait a minute. Christianity is like spitting in the Father's face. The aspect of free spirit, are you talking in the aspect of, like with Judaism being that God is the Father type of thing? And because it would be an insult. It would be nothing short of a golden calf. The Osiris was the leader in a sense with Isis. Okay, Baal was also there. The thing is, Nimrod I'm not familiar with. That is Egypt as well. Okay, fine, I'd have to look that up, but I'm not 100%. And I'm not even sure that Baal is. I think there you're mixing. I think with Ra, Osiris, Baal, and Nimrod, you're mixing the Canaanite pantheon with the Egyptian. Because Baal and Nimrod, unless I'm mistaken, they are Canaanite, not Egyptian. And the aspect of, well, yes, from Judaism, from the standpoint of Judaism, Christianity is an insult. That it would be really no different from when Moses went up onto Mount Sinai and came down and people were worshiping a golden calf. Jesus is that golden calf. That is where, if the God of the Bible would exist, people bowing to and babbling about a Jesus and thinking that that God is going to be pleased with them, no. I disagree. No, Baal did not become Osiris in Egypt. You're definitely trying to mix cultures. And what could be in that regard is that you're trying to mix potentially Christian ideas with Canaanite pantheon and basically creating a hodgepodge of bullshit. ISIS, actually I don't think ISIS, no, that's not where. Oh, now this is. It wasn't ISIS with Egypt or with Easter. It was Ishtar. Let me spell this out for you because Ishtar, not ISIS. There you're talking a different deity, a different female deity. Ishtar was the goddess of fertility. Isis was the wife of Osiris. Just like Asherah was the wife of El. Because back in the... Yes, Ishtar. Yeah, I missed the H. It's interesting. I mean, I find mythology an interesting study, an interesting thing to research, but bottom line is there's no more dipping eggs in blood. I don't know if that was actually done. I know the rolling of Easter eggs was a symbol of of basically like a symbol of like orgies or something, or it was a fertility ritual, more or less. And the aspect with Passover, I find that basically it's disgusting because the Passover ritual was about child sacrifice. Well, honestly, I don't care about these ancient mythologies. That's not the purpose of this. That's not why I'm doing this, 2-liter J. To some degree, I don't mind, but when you try to completely derail things, 2-liter J high C, I'm just going to ignore you because you are wanting to be a disruption. I'm not interested in somebody that is trying to commandeer basically the room, and that's not what this is about. Yes, and he tried saying initially that he's not a troll, but isn't that what a troll would say? I have never encountered a troll that would be, yes, I'm a troll. I try to be patient with people, but the bottom line is, they're just, no, I'm not putting up with it. I find it funny that there's put user in timeout. Really? What the fuck am I dealing with? Is this actually dealing with children? Because that is... Holy fuck. No. I've removed him and he's blocked, so... But yeah, it's just this aspect. I've tried to be patient with trolls and free spirit. One of the things, since I want to know what your thoughts are. You were seeing this person as well under where they were commenting to you. Do you think they're a troll? I held off on basically treating them like a troll, but with everything that they have said, the aspect of a troll has come to my mind. And it's one... There are things about them that do indicate or that point in the direction of a troll. I don't know. But I did say to them that any discussion with them is really meaningless if they're trying to take the aspect of that there are no facts, only interpretations. And I did point out the irony of a Christian that is spouting Nietzsche philosophy. And I think they were doing it without being aware they were doing it. And one of the things, since I'm also on that I want to point out is this one. There are only two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. And that is where I think this is what Christians are doing. In a sense, both ways. They're believing what isn't true, and they refuse to believe what is. And that is where I look at things as you can't have justice and the Christian doctrine. It doesn't work. Yeah, that person, I'm not sure, but I did say that basically a conversation with them is meaningless because they're trying to say everything is an interpretation. Seriously? This is... They're gone again. But this is really annoying. And that really confirms that you think they're afraid of hell? Oh, you're talking about... Wait a minute. You're talking about this one, right? Because that would say... That's very possible that they're trying to do this playing with interpretation to... Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay from when I put things up to when you see it. And for someone like that, well, I did the video on why hell is impossible, and I do feel that things like that, I understand people have a fear of this hell and this afterlife stuff, but honestly, there's no reason to have any type of phobia with... Oh, granted, I understand the stories and so forth that people tell they can be terrifying, and they can fill people with fear. They're supposed to. They are basically the classic horror type of imagery that is done, and the horror type of story. But the problem with all of that is, and it's a big question that I would have for any Christian, is what reason, or is hell physical or spiritual? Because if you're going to say that this hell, that this is the afterlife type of thing, then it won't matter, because I won't be alive to experience it. And even if there would be a spirit something, then so what? Because there's no reason it would have a central nervous system. And it honestly still lingers somewhat. Oh, well, Mickey, I had done a video on hell is impossible. And there I break down really why it is impossible. And it's something that I've done multiple videos on the subject of hell, as well as Welcome to Hell might be another video that you would find interesting. Because there I talk about the Valley of the Son of Hinnom, which is a field in Jerusalem. And it's something that I can understand the fear and so forth would still, or could still, be there for some. But after we're dead, the central nervous system dies. And there's no reason to believe the aspect the physical body is hell. In what sense? That interests me. The physical body is hell. Why? Because I can see for some that they would have that, like especially like Christopher Reeve, after his accident and became paralyzed, that he would have been regarding, or could have regarded, the physical body as hell. But for the most part, for most of us, no. And free spirit, I can guarantee you were correct about the 2-liter J-High-C being a troll, because since banning him on the one, he has tried at least 3 other times. We are not set free of what? In what way? I mean, we are not free. I don't see where I'm not, to use the term, not free. I have the freedom to do pretty much whatever I want. In the aspect, I mean, providing, if you have the money, you can do anything you want, literally. I don't see where the only time we're not free is if you're breaking the law, and then you're a danger to other people, and yeah, you have to be removed from society if you're going to be doing things that are harmful to other people. But too many physical needs, that's life. There's no, I mean, everything is, to use the term, physical. We physically need physical oxygen to physically live. I mean, that's part of physical life. there is no other kind of life. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just the way it is. There's no magical wonderland type of thing. It doesn't exist. There's no reason to believe in some kind of spooky woo-woo bullshit. It's a pie-in-the-sky idea that, like, my uncle's a quadriplegic and paralyzed from the chest down. In some ways, I could see it where he could look at his body as being hell, but I don't think he does. I haven't talked to him in a number of years, but I don't think he takes a pessimistic attitude. He would have if it wouldn't have been for his wife. He had married a woman from the Philippines, and then a year or so after they were married, had a bicycle accident and became a quadriplegic. And she has stayed with him, and I'd say without her, he would have been looking to die type of thing, but that she's basically his strength. But the aspect of the physical needs, physical needs are just part of life. Now, and there are things that we can do that I look at it, yes, it's a physical need that I have cigarettes, but truthfully, this is a vice that I've put on myself. That if I would really want to, and I'm half-ass torn with it, is I could quit if I wanted to. In a sense, weird. Okay, that was weird. One of the things I'm curious about is this 2-liter J high C trying to be hacking now my YouTube live feed because, well, if I would need to, I'll report him to YouTube because that type of thing, it's basically being disruptive to an extreme. But yeah, one of your souls or one of your subs, I've not seen you before, but is that a troll too, Free Spirit? Because I'd be curious if the interruption that there was, because I saw the live feed had cut for a bit, and I was a bit confused because I hadn't ended this video, but I don't know. It's one, I recognize that my channel has attracted trolls, and I don't know what the deal is with trolls. You're real, okay. You found me today, and, well, what, okay, one of your subs, why are you so negative? Because when you say, I just don't like this Earth place, as opposed to what? Have you been to Mars? Or Venus? Or what do you have to contrast it to? I mean, because it makes no sense. Yeah, Free Spirit, I've been blocking and so forth and banning every version of this 2-liter that has come up. And there have been quite a bunch. It is something that I will definitely be noting for future live shows, that if I see anything with that, he'll be immediately gone. But yes, please. tell me, because I have no doubt that maybe this is something that if I can't help you with, maybe Free Spirit can, or somebody else in the chat room. I'm just curious. Okay. There's some other time then? Okay. Well, I do have in the description bar, I have my Skype underneath the Nietzsche, at least I think. No? I'll edit that quick and put that in. Oh yeah, I do. My Skype name is MrGoodNKinky. That you can find me on Skype and we can talk about it, because it's something that I personally feel that I don't know why. I don't know why you want to be negative, but there's not. I don't see a reason to be negative. Yeah, the aspect the earth is our home, I agree. I mean, because to me it's one, there's no other, in order to say you don't like this earth place, what others have you seen? Because if you don't have anything to contrast it to, how do you know you would like any of the others or any other world? But I don't see the reason of being negative. Right, there's a song that, and actually I can, even though I think I have it, because it's one that does tie in with this, and it would actually be a good way to end this. It's a song by 6 a.m. called Life is Beautiful. Oh, crap. Alright, that's accept balls to the wall. But let's see if looking through my list quick, if I might not have on here 6 a.m. No. I don't have Life is Beautiful on my playlist. But there is another that I can do to end this. Other dimension. How many have you been to? To say other dimensions are better, have you been to any others to be able to say this? I mean, it seems like it's fantasy thinking. Because the aspect of, are there other dimensions? I see no reason to believe that such would exist. It just, I think there are things that you can look at that are, because the feeling that I get is that you look at the world in a very negative way. And that it's not a good way to focus on being. I look at being positive, not being a negative figure. Because, and it's one I probably shouldn't play music, because that would cause YouTubes, so forth, to go frickin' nuts. And the aspect of dimensions. Right, you're here, why not enjoy it? I don't see the point of... You've been visited by others and shown you a glimpse. I'm partially... See, in cases like this, I don't want to be insulting, but your mental state is coming into my mind as being, have you talked to a doctor about this? Because if you are believing and thinking that you're having visitations from whatever, I don't see where that is a good thing. It could be an indication of a mental illness. Right, it serves no purpose to beat ourselves up over, as it is impossible to go there, at least as far as we know. I would agree. And there are things that are mentioned that are supposedly stargates and so forth. I would be very hesitant, even if one would open type of thing. I'd be very hesitant to step through because, for one, how do we know that it's an oxygen atmosphere? And if it's not an oxygen atmosphere and you step through, you're dead. So, without knowing anything of where you're going, stepping into you could literally be stepping into anything. And that's where I feel it would be an unsafe risk. Because and that's even, to use the term, theoretical at best, or hypothetical. Because I've watched Stargate with my girlfriend, but I would need evidence that wherever we're stepping into is safe for people to step into. I think in some ways, because of what we can do with movies and so forth, that it can lead to people who have trouble being in touch with reality to cause them to lose touch. Well, the aspect of notes on a guitar fretboard, there are some possibilities that are, without evidence, there's no reason to believe that that something is possible. Because there you're getting into the idea of no earthly hands can play. What other kind of hands do you know of that exist that could do? I mean, basically it's fantasy. That is all fantasy. You could also ask, does the other dimension have the same or similar law? Right. I mean, there's so many things that would come into play with the aspect of dimensions. Not just the oxygen atmosphere, but the laws of physics. Do they match with ours? There are so many variables that you would just not know. It would be foolish or foolhardy to just try stepping into a dimension without knowing where the fuck you're going. And what is it like there? And that's where I would I'm partially concerned, one of your subs, that have you seen a doctor? Because it almost sounds like you could be dealing with, I don't know if it would be schizophrenia or other kind of issues, but a doctor would definitely be advisable, especially if you're feeling depression and having what I would term flights of fancy and almost losing touch with reality, because life is beautiful. I don't see where it is hell or a bad thing or that any other world would be better. I just don't see any indication to that. But I am getting to the point where my office is getting warm again and these teeth are getting ready to come out. So, and I'm pretty much needing to kill this because I'm at almost 2 hours. But, all right, everyone. I'll be doing another live show probably next weekend. But you're very creative to combine so many ideas. Not quite that I'm... It's one of your subs. I don't mean to be insulting. I'm just concerned that with what you're saying, that basically talk to a doctor, talk to a professional. Because you could have other problems that they could address that I'm not equipped to, and I don't want you to do something that would end up potentially hurting yourself. But all right, everyone, I'll talk to you later. Have fun, and thanks.